Ever feel like reality is just slipping through your fingers? Like
Yeah.
what we see, it isn't, the whole picture.
Yeah.
Well, get ready to dive into that feeling because today we're heading way back to ancient Greece to meet a philosopher who took that idea to a whole new level, like a really mind-bending level.
Oh, you must be talking about Parmenides.
That's our guy.
His ideas about reality, still sparking debates thousands of years later. It's incredible.
Seriously, it's like he tapped into something fundamental about how we understand, well, existence itself.
Exactly.
And get this, he explored these incredibly complex ideas, these mind-blowing concepts in a poem.
A poem. That's Parmenides for you. Always want to take the path less traveled.
Right. Our sources this time around are actually fragments of this very poem on nature.
It's really all we have left of his work. Well, that and some accounts from historians who, give us a little more context about the world he lived in.
Exactly. So we're piecing together this philosophical puzzle, but even the pieces we do have, they're kind of explosive.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay, so let's start, I guess, with the basics. Who is Parmenides?
Well, he was born in this Greek colony, Alia, sometime around the late 6th or early 5th century BC. But honestly, even his birth date is a bit of a philosophical mystery.
A mystery even to historians, huh? Figures.
Right. We love a good enigma. But we do know he was from a wealthy, influential family. There are even hints he might have dabbled in politics at some point. A philosopher king? Can you imagine?
Wow. So not exactly your starving artist wrestling with the universe in an attic type of philosopher then, huh? Sounds like he had the means to really sink his teeth into these big questions.
Exactly. And dive in he did. Like we were saying, we only have fragments of this poem on nature, but even those fragments, they give us an incredibly powerful, I'd say even a radical glimpse into his thinking.
Okay, so I'm curious about this poem. It's not just one to reality, right? It's divided into sections or parts.
You're right, it is. It's actually structured in a really interesting way. So there's this vivid, almost mystical introduction where Parmenides describes being whisked away in a chariot guided by, get this, the daughters of the sun.
Whoa, the daughters of the sun.
That's right. And they carry him off to meet a goddess.
Of course, a goddess.
Who reveals to him the truth of the universe.
Talk about setting the stage for some philosophical insights, huh? It's like ancient mythology meets deep, deep thought.
It's really quite something.
Okay, so where does the philosophy, I guess, really kick in? When does Parmenides really lay down the truth, so to speak?
It's in the second part of the poem, often referred to as the Way of Truth, where things get especially interesting. And this is where Parmenides lays out his core ideas about reality. This is where he really, drops the philosophical mic, you might say.
Okay, so not just a poem, but a chariot ride with some divine beings then. So tell me more about this Way of Truth. What's he actually saying?
Well, he starts by arguing that true reality, what he calls being, is this single, unchanging, eternal entity. Being. Not something we can necessarily see or touch. It's more like the fundamental essence of reality itself.
Okay, so beyond our everyday understanding of what's real, I think I'm starting to see why his ideas are still messing with people's minds all these years later.
Oh, absolutely. It's powerful stuff.
So this being that he talks about, this fundamental reality, it's not like anything we can really wrap our heads around, is it?
Not exactly. He asks us to imagine a sphere, perfectly smooth, no beginning, no end, completely indivisible.
Whoa, okay. I can see how that's a tough one to visualize, let alone fully grasp.
Right, because it flies in the face of how we typically experience the world, right? Everything around us is constantly changing, flowing, becoming something else. But Parmenides is saying, nope, that's not the true nature of reality.
So, wait, hold on. He's saying this idea of a reality that's always changing is wrong.
Well, he wouldn't necessarily say it's wrong, but he would say it's incomplete. It's a limited perspective. He argues that change, true change, it's logically impossible.
Okay, hold on. Now my brain is officially starting.
Oh, I know. It's a lot to process.
It's just that. Everything we experience, everything we observe, seems to contradict that. Things change all the time.
That's exactly what makes Parmenides so radical. He's basically saying that everything we perceive as change, whether it's the seasons changing, a plant growing, even time passing, it's all an illusion.
An illusion. Wow. Okay. He did not hold back. So how did he explain, everything we see around us then? If it's not really real or it's an illusion, what's going on?
Well, he said that for something to change, it would have to, I don't know, it would have to come from nothing or become nothing. And that just, it didn't make sense to him. It's
It's like ghosts popping in and out of existence.
right. And he's saying that's just not logically possible.
Okay, I think I see where you're going with this.
Think about it this way. Imagine a cup of coffee, steaming hot, right? And then as you're talking, it starts to cool down. We see that as change, right?
Yeah, definitely. Going from hot to less hot. Definitely change.
But Parmenides, he'd say, hold on a second. The coffee, it's not actually changing its essence. It's still at its core coffee. It's transitioning between different states of being, you know, from hot to cold. But it's always fundamentally coffeeness.
So our senses are basically lying to us, tricking us into thinking that something new is being created or destroyed, when really it's just, what do you call it, rearrangement.
Exactly, a rearrangement of this fundamental being. He believed that this being, this essential reality, it can't be created and it can't be destroyed. It's just...
Okay. So if we're just seeing or experiencing this kind of, I don't know, surface level of reality, this illusion, how do we even begin to understand or access, I guess, this deeper reality, this being?
Well, that's a really good question. And that's where I think that third part of Parmenides' poem comes in, the part that we call the Way of Opinion. Unfortunately, we only have a few fragments from that section. But
oh, no, not more lost wisdom.
I know, right? It's like the philosophical equivalent of a cliffhanger. But from what we can piece together, it seems like Parmenides saw this world of appearances, the world that we experience every day, as a kind of, well, a kind of necessary illusion.
Necessary?
In a way, it's how our limited human minds, how we make sense of this infinite, unchanging reality.
Okay, so if we're stuck with this illusion because of our, limited human brains,
yeah.
Did Parmenides think there was any way to, I don't know, to break free from that? To see the world as it truly is?
Now that is the question, a question that philosophers are still grappling with to this day, I might add. It's a real head scratcher. But here's the thing, even though we don't have all of Parmenides' answers, what we do have had a huge impact. I mean, his ideas, they sent shockwaves through the philosophical world.
Really? So who picked up that philosophical torch? Who was inspired by Parmenides?
Oh, well, his influence. It pops up in some unexpected places, but perhaps the most notable example is Plato.
Wait, the Plato? Author of the Republic? Lover of ideal forms? That Plato.
The one and only.
Wow. Okay, so how does Parmenides fit in with, all the famous Platonic stuff?
Well, you see, Plato, he was really drawn to this idea of a true, unchanging reality that exists beyond the world of appearances. Sound familiar?
Almost like Parmenides' being.
Exactly. Plato even wrote an entire dialogue titled, and you're not going to believe this, Parmenides, in which he has a young Socrates debating these very concepts.
So even Socrates, the OG of philosophical inquiry, even he couldn't resist the allure of Parmenides' ideas.
It seems not. Parmenides he had this way of forcing people to confront these really uncomfortable questions.
Such as?
Well, like, if everything we perceive as change is really just an illusion, then what does that mean for us? What does that say about our choices, our lives? I mean, everything we think we know about the world suddenly becomes questionable.
Yeah, that's kind of a lot to process. It's like looking into a philosophical mirror and questioning everything you thought you knew about everything.
Right. But you know what I find really interesting about Parmenides?
What's that?
Here he is, arguing for this unchanging eternal reality, this being, right? But how does he choose to communicate these ideas? Through poetry.
Huh. You're right. It is kind of strange when you think about it. You'd think, straightforward philosophical treatise.
Yeah.
Lay it all out there. That'd be the way to go.
I think so, right. But maybe he understood that these ideas, as challenging as they are, they might actually resonate more deeply if they were presented in a way that, I don't know, in a way that sparked the imagination.
I see what you mean. I mean, I'm not going to lie, that whole chariot ride with the daughters of the sun to uncover the truth of the universe, that's an image that definitely sticks with you.
Exactly. It's not something you forget easily. And maybe that's part of the point. Maybe Parmenides, he wasn't just trying to lay down a set of doctrines, philosophical rules to live by. Maybe he was trying to invite us to question, to explore, to look beyond what's right in front of us, to really see the world in a new light.
So, to use a very tired cliche, to think outside the box.
Exactly. To not just accept what we see and experience as the be-all and end-all, to dare to think differently, to imagine a reality that's beyond our I don't know, our immediate grasp.
It makes you wonder, though, how did people back then react to all of this?
Yeah.
Were they on board? Did they start like a Parmenidean fan club?
Yeah.
Or did they think he was, a little out there?
Oh, I think it's safe to say Parmenides wasn't exactly, the most popular guy at the symposium.
Yeah, I can imagine trying to convince people that change is an illusion.
Especially back then.
Right, yeah. In a world where the gods were always up to something, where the seasons were constantly shifting, where, well, life and death were just, part of the fabric of existence, it does make you wonder how people wrap their heads around it.
Oh, absolutely. It's like he was dropping this philosophical bomb right into the middle of their worldview.
So what happened? Did people freak out? Did his ideas, I don't know, did they start a movement?
Well, they definitely got people talking, that's for sure. Some philosophers,
Right.
they just flat out rejected his ideas. Wouldn't even try to reconcile them with, with their own experiences of the world.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But others,
Yeah.
other philosophers, they were, I don't know, maybe intrigued is the word. They actually devoted their lives to trying to make sense of it all, trying to reconcile Parmenides' vision of this
Okay.
unchanging reality with the undeniable fact that the world around them, it seemed to be changing all the time.
It makes you realize that even back then, thousands of years ago,
Mm-hmm.
people were wrestling with these really big, really fundamental questions.
Oh, absolutely. And that, in many ways, is Parmenides' lasting legacy. He might not have given us all the answers.
Or any answers.
Well, that depends on who you ask, right? But the point is, he forced people to ask questions, to confront these really, really big, even uncomfortable ideas that they might never have even considered before.
He kind of, I don't know, shifted the trajectory of philosophical thought.
Exactly. It's like he threw this pebble into a pond, and the ripples, they're still being felt today, centuries later.
So where can we see those ripples?
Yeah.
Besides in Plato's work, of course.
Well, his influence pops up in so many different schools of thought. You see it in Stoicism, in Neoplatonism, even in modern physics, and in how we understand the universe today.
Wow. Okay, so Parmenides from ancient Greece is influencing how we understand the cosmos today. That's kind of amazing when you think about it.
It really is, because at the heart of it, even if you don't agree with his conclusions, and let's be honest, they're not exactly easy to swallow.
Not easy at all.
He challenges us. He challenges us to think differently, to look beyond what we think we know, to question, everything.
To always maintain a sense of
Yeah.
of philosophical curiosity, I guess you could say.
Yes. To take a step back from our busy lives, from the everyday hustle and bustle, and just ask ourselves those big questions like, what if everything I think I know is wrong? What if? What if there's more to reality than meets the eye?
What if this is all just one big illusion?
Maybe, or maybe not. That's the beauty of philosophy, right? It's about asking those questions and seeing where they lead.
It's enough to make you want to just, I don't know, go stare at a blank wall and ponder the nature of existence for a while.
Or, you could just grab a cup of coffee and, as we were talking about earlier, appreciate the illusion of it cooling down.
Maybe finding wonder in the everyday is part of what Parmenides was trying to get at. That by questioning the nature of change, he makes us appreciate the beauty of change.
Yeah.
Of each fleeting moment.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And maybe that's a good place to leave it for today.
Yeah, I think so too. Lots to think about.
Lots to think about.
So to all our listeners out there, the next time you're going about your day and you see, I don't know, a hot cup of coffee, a blooming flower, the sun setting on the horizon, whatever it is,
They're Parmenides.
remember to look a little deeper.
Exactly. Remember that there might be more to that seemingly simple act of change than we realize.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the world of Parmenides. Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep an open mind.